Hey yo, what's up? My name's Patrouski, and today will be kind of a special, sort of casual, ramble, rant type video, because I actually want to get all my thoughts out there. Now, I've talked a lot about this topic on my channel and on my streams and everything of the sort, but today, I want to give you guys my thought process and kind of explain why, and just ramble about why, in my opinion, Scizor is currently the most busted Pokemon I have ever seen in the history of PokeMMO in competitive play. It is actually more broken than Garchomp in my opinion, and I'll explain why. We can actually compare them. So Scizor and Garchomp are pretty similar in a couple of ways where they actually both do a lot of things really well. And when a Pokemon is really versatile and it can do a lot of things, that's obviously okay. But the issue is usually there's like a best set, right? And there is kind of a best set with Scizor, but it can still do so many things with lefties and be so defensive and use Defog and such. I don't want to get too wrapped up into that right now, but first, I do look at the comparison between it and Scizor. Or Scizor and Garchomp. The reason Garchomp is so good is because look at this: 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. It can do 4 different things at the top level, right? When a Pokemon is versatile to the extent it is doing 4 different jobs better than every other Pokemon, it excludes and it invalidates so many other Pokemon, right? Like it invalidates the use of so many other Pokemon. Why would you ever use Darmanitan as a Scarfer when you can just use Garchomp, or any sort of like grounds type Scarfer with EQ when you can just use Garchomp? Like there are so many reasons. Like why would you ever, like, it can set up Stealth Rocks? It's insane. Why would you ever use like T-Tar as like a Scarfer when you can just use Garchomp? A huge thing that's really important between these two is that Scizor can actually do more, in my opinion, than Garchomp. The biggest difference there's so many differences between Garchomp and Scizor, but in terms of like real core meta difference, Scizor can't set up Stealth Rocks. That's like Scizor is literally Garchomp that can't set up Stealth Rocks, but can do a lot more stuff. So, for example, Scizor can set up with Swords Dance. Garchomp doesn't have access to Swords Dance in Pokemon for balancing reasons. They're both incredible typings, being Dragon and Ground, having a 4 times weakness, but then resisting a lot of other stuff. Scizor being Steel and Bug, resisting so much stuff, but obviously being very weak to Fire. But there's also not that many good Fire types in OU. That's a huge aspect as well. Volcarona is okay, but it's a really fragile Pokemon you don't see on many teams. I really like Volcarona personally, but it's just not a fantastic Pokemon. It has a pretty low win rate because of that. Most Pokemon that are dealing with Scizor are slotting in Fire types moves to specifically try to deal with it. Things like Fire Blast or Flamethrower, Dragonite, Special Dragonite, Darmanitan can start deal with it, but how do you switch Darmanitan into it? Infernape is a decent answer, but once again, it's hard to switch into it. I would say that probably Naive Life Orb Garchomp with Fire Blast is probably the best answer to Scizor, which is insane. Magnezone is supposed to be the hardest counter to Scizor, and we'll talk about this. Why can Scizor always one-shot Magnezone when it's supposed to be its hardest counter? So a big it's kind of still matchup, but at the same time it should always happen, right? So if your opponent has Scizor and you have Magnezone, you should always, or not always, but you should always, the play should be you should always go to just switch in Magnezone, right, to be able to Hidden Power Fire it and take care of it. But the issue has become that if the Scizor is Choice Band Superpower, it'll always one-shot your Magnezone on the switch in. Your Magnezone will always be faster, but if the Scizor predicts that switch, they're always going to one-shot you. So the hardest counter to him in the game can't actually hard counter him because he actually beats him in one-shots. The fact that it's a one-hit KO to defeat the counter is what's so insane, right? I understand if he has to be in, let's say, the Scizor, if he got like an SD up and then was able to like get into a position, like if he was able to do something or put himself into a position to counter him, that'd be fair enough, you know, right? If he had like be a certain set, like if he had to be SD, but like no, if he is literally just like the most common set, if he is Choice Band Superpower and he just clicks, if your opponent has Magnezone and you have Scizor, you're always going to click Superpower, predicting they're just going to switch in Magnezone every time, right? Like 1,000% of the time. Because this is not worth the risk of them bringing in Magnezone and dealing with your Mon. So what's going to happen is, whenever you're in that matchup, it just becomes you have Magnezone, I have Scizor out, I'm just going to click Superpower because you're obviously going to switch to it, and then bam, dead. Even if you go, I calced this a lot during a recent Road to PokeMMO video, even if you go 252 HP, 252 defense, bold Magnezone, he still one-shots you 100% of the time post rocks, which is insane. It's so crazy. This is supposed to be the Pokemon's hardest counter, and it can hard counter it. It comes out to be like Fire Blast, Garchomp. Like, people are slotting in Fire Blast on Garchomp for it. Like, that's what it's come to. And that's its biggest counter. It's crazy. Anyways, let's talk about some more core aspects. I feel like I skipped over a lot of what makes Scizor so good. What makes Scizor so good is access to Technician, Choice Band, Priority Stab, Bullet Punch. So let's find it up in the decks. Bullet Punch is a 40 base power steel type priority move. So what happens is Scizor doesn't have the speed that Garchomp has. That's its biggest, flaw, right? Scizor's only flaw is its speed tier. Truly, that is its only downside, which it more than makes up for with Bullet Punch is the issue. Like even if Scizor was 100 base speed, it would still run Bullet Punch. Like Bullet Punch is just so good. Why would you ever not? Bullet Punch is a 40 base power that gets boosted with Technician, of course, which is really fucking powerful. Boosted with Technician and gets Stab. So I forget the base power. How much does Technician? I can actually Google really quick. Technician boost. I think it boosted up to 80, right? Or does it boost it by double? How much does Technician boost? It just says flat out, right? Technician will only apply the flash to less, blah. It increases the power of 50% to moves with 60 or less. So what happens is Bullet Punch gets 20 extra damage, putting it at 60, and then it also gets Stab, putting it at 90? Putting it at 90, so it becomes a 90 base power priority move, literally better than Extreme Speed. The only thing that could possibly the only priority move that's better than this would be Stab Extreme Speed. But this is literally Bullet Punch becomes more powerful than non-Stab Extreme Speed from Dragonite. That's insane. Especially coming from a 130 attack base stat, which is I'm pretty sure higher than Dragonite. Isn't it his I want to say it's 120 or less. What is Dragonite's base attack? Oh, just kidding, it's 134. Even so, it's very close. That is crazy. I don't know. From Scizor, Dragonite's supposed to be a one of those pseudo legendary Pokemon, right? But yet Scizor is going to be pumping out a lot more damage and doing a lot better. And Scizor can do so many things. My biggest issue with Scizor is that obviously the Choice Band set is really powerful, and there's not much you can do to counter Scizor coming in and pressing U-turn or Bullet Punch or these things. He's so powerful and well equipped for the current meta as well. Whereas the current meta is getting up Stealth Rocks, U-turning around for a little bit, Vault Switching around, being able to whittle your opponent down just enough, getting every Pokemon to around 80%, and then you're able to sweep through with a Pokemon that is able to do enough damage after just one setup or so and outspeed everything. It's incredible at that. It's incredible at aiding the current meta and what people are trying to do, which is another huge issue of it, right? It's insane. I want to go back to comparing it to Garchomp. So one of the biggest issues is that Scizor can't set up Stealth Rocks, right? But what Scizor can do is it can set up Swords Dance, which Garchomp can't do. It has beautiful Sustain in Roost, which Garchomp has no Sustain, right? That's a huge thing. This Pokemon having access to Sustain with its incredible typing. Imagine if Garchomp had Roost, or imagine if Garchomp had some sort of Sustain move. I think that is a really good telltale sign and a really good comparison that gets overlooked. It's so crazy. Another one of Scizor's biggest flaws is that its move pool isn't fantastic, but the problem is that its limited move pool is so perfect for what it needs to do. It really has access to. It basically usually goes Bullet Punch. It can go Bug Bite if you really want for a really strong Bug Bite. Bug Bite can actually be really good against certain berry users if Belly Drums ever becomes popular in OU, which I kind of doubt. But it'd be cool to see. Or any sort of Lums become really popular. Bug Bite can be used to deal with that, which is really interesting. I do like the idea of Bug Bite becoming really good in OU on Scizor. We don't see it that much. Usually it's just U-turn. Usually U-turn is ran. Bug Bite becomes really powerful because Bug Bite becomes 90 base power because it gets boosted by Technician plus Stab. So it ends up being 90 plus Stab. What is that, 135 or so? Or something like that. What's the math on that? 90 plus Stab, 45? Yeah, 135, right? I think it's 135. Bug Bite ends up being a 135 base power move, which is crazy. I could be doing my math wrong. Someone could correct me in the comments below. I don't know. This Pokemon's crazy. I always hate Scizor. I'm at the point where, if I ever play OU again, I might start running Naive Fire Blast Garchomp alongside Magnezone. I feel like the only way to beat this Pokemon is to run those two. It's really, really powerful. It's really unfun. you almost always know what it's going to do as soon as you learn the set. You do have to learn the information, of course, of figuring out whether it's choice band or whether it is a setupper or defogger. The fact that this thing can defog, like, that's the huge thing too, is like its biggest flaw is that it can't set up rocks, but it's so good at being a defensive tool. This thing can also get around slow U-turns. Oh my god. Scizor, like, so for those that don't know, and like high tier competitive Pokemon play, getting off slow U-turns is really good. And what that means is you actually want a lot of your U-turner Pokemon to be slow if possible and to be like bulky to take the hits. There's a lot more power in a wall Pokemon, in a bulky Pokemon. Like, imagine if Clefable had U-turn. Like, there's a lot more power, which I mean has teleport, which is kind of similar, but and that's why it's so good, right? Like, when you give a bulky Pokemon access to mobility, that's when things get really scary. That is why Clefable and Slowbro and Slowcane jumped to OU in traditional Gen 8 competitive Pokemon at the current moment. They became really fucking good, so they gave them all access to Teleport, and Teleport changed the meta of Pokemon a lot. Because bulky Pokemon getting Teleport gave a lot more safe switches, and gave things a lot more mobility, and was able to bring in Pokemon safer. Whereas we don't really have access to a lot of that in PokeMMO. Like, at least in terms of, I'm surprised we don't see more Teleport Clefable and more Teleport Mons in OU, I'll be honest. We don't see enough of it. I think there's a lot of improvement in PokeMMO players' team building for that, in that regard. I would love to see that, but definitely rambling on a lot here. I just think it's crazy to see a Pokemon be so similar to Garchomp in terms of typing, in terms of power, in terms of stats. You're basically trading Garchomp's speed for Scizor's Bullet Punch priority, which is a very happy trade. Imagine if Garchomp could learn SD, had priority, and yeah, had SD, had sustain and roost, and then could also, yeah, I don't know, it's crazy. Like, you're trading speed, priority, sustain, and Swords Dance, and setup, and all of these things. And also U-turn. Like, Garchomp can't U-turn. Like, Scizor has so many things up on Garchomp. The only thing it doesn't have is setting up Stealth Rocks. I think Scizor is actually so much more powerful than Garchomp. It is crazy. Garchomp also doesn't even have access to Rough Skin in this game. If Garchomp had access to Rough Skin, I think it would actually change a decent, not a decent amount. There'd be more to talk about. Yeah, it'd be more for debate, actually, which is surprising how much that ability would actually like, give this Pokemon a lot more power, because it lets it tank a lot better rate. But dude, like, I just can't get over how powerful Scizor is and how much more powerful it is than Garchomp. I truly think that Scizor is the most powerful Pokemon in Pokemon right now, especially in its current state. I think it's probably the most broken Pokemon I've ever seen in all of Pokemon history. But anyways, that should be it for this spiel. Let me know if you guys, what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know if I messed up anything. I'm definitely a little bit of, you know, it's a rant, it's a ramble. That's the point of videos like this. I don't mind hearing guys' feedback in the comments down below. Make sure if you liked this video to like the video, subscribe for future PokeMMO content, rants, PvP, guides, money making, etc., etc. Check out all the playlist links down below. Join my Discord if you want to see when new videos are uploaded whenever I'm live right away. And then finally, consider becoming a YouTube member to me for $5 a month, or Patreon, or Twitch, or, you know, etc., etc. There's tons of ways to support me, linked down in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you're having a great day, and I hope you guys don't get beat up by Scizor.